Hello, good evening and welcome to In the Know, the live and interactive Cheltenham preview show brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. My name is Ross Brierley. I'll be guiding the ship through the next hour or so as we get stuck into more Cheltenham Festival fever. And we look at a few of the feature races, look back at the weekend as well, and we talk to our special guests and very special panel. Don't forget, as I said, this is live and interactive, so please make sure those comments come in. We'll be reading them out throughout the evening. You can get in touch via Facebook, Twitter, or in particular on that YouTube live chat function. So do that throughout the next hour or so. And let's get stuck in as we are 2 weeks away from the festival. Let's see who we've got on tonight's show then. First things first, our special guest, possibly the most informed trainer in the country at the moment. Please welcome Mr. Dan Skelton. Dan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ross.
You're in pretty good nick, Dan. I think that's fair to say. You've had a couple of good weekends, and you must be pretty excited for the festival in 2 weeks, if it all continues at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, touch wood, fingers crossed and all that. The horses are in great form. The team are happy and healthy. And, we any sort of jump yard at this time of year, you start to get a little bit tense around the edges. But I think that's to be expected, to be honest with you. But, we couldn't be happy with the way things are at the moment.
Absolutely. We'll be getting a bit of a deeper look at your runners and riders then for the festival over the course of the next hour. On our panel tonight, live in the studio, I assume that his appearance via Zoom a couple of weeks ago was too disruptive for the family. He's been asked to leave the house and come into the studio. Delighted to welcome Paul Kealy.
Absolutely. I didn't realise everybody could hear the dog barking in the background. I thought you had me muted, but yes.
When people say the dogs are barking for your selections, Paul, it's usually the other way around.
No, my dog's barking at the neighbours normally, yeah.
Welcome, are you well?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good, yeah.
Good. Well, we'll be having a look at some races with Paul and getting his expert opinion as the evening goes on. And as ever, in the studio to give us the prices and the lowdown from Coral is Mr. Simon Clare. Simon, welcome.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be joined in the studio with someone. Isn't it? Just not just you and me this time.
That is true. Yeah, Paul has he split us up. He's and you've obviously for regulation reasons been asked to move.
First time out of the house, bar walking the dog for 2 months. Seriously.
Well, what an honour it is to be the man.
Yeah, I'm back. It was great coming in. It was great coming in on the train. I really enjoyed it. But no, yeah,
Did you? Yeah. Were you smiling at everyone? And
there's nobody on it. It was great. It really was great. Go on.
Well, it's lovely to see you, Paul. It's lovely to see you. Hopefully you remember how to converse to humans in public and in person as the evening goes on.
I've got a couple of them at home, you know.
But if it's in like my partner, after a year of being locked down, and the conversing starts to
It's like the Jeremy Kyle show.
run out a bit. But anyway, we've got racing to talk about. We will be going on to the festival very shortly indeed. But of course, we are happy to be gearing up over the next 2 weeks for the festival. But we must mention, of course, a real down note for racing over the past couple of days. The distressing and a fairly brutal story that's been dominating the headlines over the last 48 hours. And really putting a dark spin on the whole proceedings. That is, of course, the news about Gordon Elliott and him being pictured astride a deceased horse on his gallops, smiling into the camera with a joke across the bottom of that picture as well. And of course, it has sent, understandably, shockwaves throughout the industry. And I think it's fair to say that here, everyone involved with this show and with the Racing Post and with the sponsors Coral, of course, condemn those actions. And that cruel and fairly inhumane way of displaying yourself as well. So it has been a pretty dark 48 hours, and at a time when the industry and racing as a sport and as a whole should be getting geared up and excited for the festival. Unfortunately, we are having to deal with this frankly horrible act. And Dan, I know this is a poor time to bring you in the most of the times, but you are a prominent racehorse trainer yourself, of course, and it's a horrible event, and as someone who spends their entire life looking after and caring for these horses, Dan, you must have had a pretty severe reaction yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it was just shocking, and when I first saw it, I just thought, ouch. I just couldn't believe it. It's awful, and I still struggle really to find the right words and disgust about it. Really, it's terrible. It does not. I just don't think it reflects well on any on the sport. It's just the whole thing is just horrendous. And like you've pointed out, we should be looking forward here and sort of looking forward to Cheltenham, and we shouldn't. One of our leaders in the industry, it just shouldn't have happened. Simple as that. And I just as somebody who loves horses and sort of relies upon them as really for my daily existence, not just for my job. I love horses, and that is a general reaction to all professionals. I think is that this does not display what we are. I think there's been some pretty strong opinions on some of the social medias that all of a sudden that this is what horse racing is. Well, it's just not. And I think there's a huge amount of emotions going on about it, and I don't really know what to say. It's just awful.
Yeah, it undermines the whole industry, Dan, and it is a shocking and callous image, Paul. And like I said, it's for people who make their living and their career and love the sport and watch it day in and day out. It's the last thing you want to see, and it's clearly had an effect on everyone.
Yeah, of course it has. I mean, when it first came up there, everybody was like, just really grasping and hoping that it wasn't real. But I can't think of a single way that one individual could cause more damage to racing's image than an absolutely top trainer sitting astride a dead horse grinning like a Cheshire cat. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. You cannot believe that would have happened. Obviously, the BHA wants something done quickly. The IHRB haven't done anything yet. They've said they're going to look into it. They've got their processes. But judging by the BHA coming out and basically giving them the hurry up today, I'm reading that they don't want his name on the race card when it comes to Cheltenham. What happens there? I mean, obviously, if there is a suspension of licence, that is down to the IHRB, but we will have to wait and see. But I mean, the BHA have been pretty forthright. It's unusual for a different racing jurisdiction to tell another one to get on with it. You know what I mean? So it'll be very, very interesting just to see what happens. But I'm shocked and saddened, and racing has been betrayed. I mean, that's what's happened basically.
It was. I think the most disappointing thing for me was the apology as well, or the way that the apology could have accepted or tried to basically say, I apologise for the offence caused, rather than the actual act in itself, and trying to explain it away. And there is no explaining this away, is there?
No, I mean it's one of those things. You can concoct any story you like, sitting on a dead horse and posing for a photograph. I mean, it's unjustifiable. Like, no, I'm not one of those people that says that, throw the book at him and we never want to see him again, banned for life and etc. Because, I don't believe in a society without a road to redemption, but that road doesn't mean that road shouldn't be long and hard. And I think he's got to be hit with something pretty severe, but we'll have to wait and see what it is.
Yeah, and obviously there are, the ramifications for the whole spring festivals, because the last thing, you can't possibly have something like this happen, and then, potentially for the first race of the entire week, celebrating an achievement for him in winning the
well, yeah,
the first
this
race.
Is it. I mean, but the other thing is you can't penalise owners at the same time.
True, yeah, because it's a whole. They said it's an industry. You've got the owners, you've got the people who obviously work in the stables as well. Breeders, people who want to see the sport. It's one man sort of bringing down a lot of other people.
Exactly, yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So, but as I said, we utterly condemn the actions of Gordon Elliott, and hopefully some sort of swift and retribution will come, and we can put this incident behind us. And again, it is unfortunate that we have to even talk about this. It's quite surprising that those words even have to come out of my mouth, but there we go. So I think we're going to have to try and move on, of course. That is the thing. Everyone is going to try and have to get on with it and move on and look forward as the time being, because this is a developing story, of course, and everyone at the Racing Post will bring you updates as it goes on. But moving on and looking back a little bit further to the weekend's action, and of course on Saturday we usually have some big Cheltenham pointers towards the festival. Of course, this is a festival preview show this evening. We didn't have that many, to be fair, but one that did land his name in a few anti-post portfolios, I feel, was the winner of the Adonis at Kempton. The juvenile market being shaken up a little bit by Tritonic's second win over hurdles by quite a considerable margin at Kempton, Paul. And we spoke about the triumph a couple of weeks ago. You said that Tritonic was the one horse in the market who could still shake up the prices as they stand, and he's done just that.
Yeah, he has, and he won very easily, and he beat the horse that he'd beaten before by a length. He beat him this time by 10 lengths, and he did it very easily. Telling turn of gear away from the last. There are people who are crabbing the form because of the times in relation to the other 2 mile races on the card. You can see that argument, but by the same token, we already know that Tritonic can run fast because he's been placed behind group horses on the flat at a mile and a half. So it's a case for him of, his jumping wasn't the best. A couple of times he had to get ridden away from the hurdle because he didn't land running. But by the same token, there's only two flights in the last 7 furlongs, long run between the last and the second last, and he will be, he'll be travelling as good as anything going to the last, I'd have thought, and he'll definitely grab that hill. And I know people say that it's not, tend to think that Kempton is not a great place for producing Cheltenham winners, but I think 6 Triumph winners have gone on from winning the Adonis since 1980. So
we have had some, for example, last year's Solo was incredibly impressive and has barely been seen since.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out, and it did half look like it on paper as well. It turned out that was just a terrible renewal. And of course, you never know until a few months later whether it'll be the same again. But you remember, Fusel Raffles won it the year before as easily as Tritonic didn't go to Cheltenham, but then he did go to Punchestown. And he did beat the best of the juveniles there. So it can turn up a very, very good horse.
Absolutely. Dan, just going to bring you in here with a bit of a positive spin about one of your runners. Of course, you had a horse in that race in the shape of John Locke, a horse who I was keeping an eye on after his impressive form on the flat, involving the likes of Ocean Wind and a very strong figure at Goodwood. And, I mean, he travelled like a very talented horse. And how do you rate him in relation to Tritonic, to give us a bit of a line into that triumph?
I was really happy with him on the day, and actually going into the race, I did give him a fair chance with realistic expectations against the likes of Tritonic. But he travelled very well, he jumped very well. I think he paid the price sort of from the back of 2 outs for being so handy and almost over racing a little. I think we'll probably miss Cheltenham. I've yet to talk in depth about it with the owners. He's obviously a maiden, and realistically, I see him next year as one of our best novice hurdlers. I like a lot about him. He's a strong horse. He jumps well. He's brave, and I do think he's got a good, a good career at the game. For what it's worth, I think Tritonic was very, very good, and it's nice to see a juvenile do well first time and do better second time. It shows that they've got that robust and good attitude to go forward over hurdlers rather than be intimidated by them. I joked with Alan King afterwards and said, "You're our Union Jack holder. I think sole Union Jack holder in the Triumph Hurdle. So we're all going to have to stand behind Kingy a bit. I think the Irish are going to be very hard to beat in it. But in Tritonic, it looks like there's a bit of an English defence there."
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you also have another juvenile involved over the last few days, and we've got a social comment here from Paul Mager. He says, "Dan, what are the chances of Cabo Cliffs in the Boodles?" Yeah, of course, back to winning ways on his last couple of starts, Dan. Of course, if he does go to Cheltenham, you do have to put behind you a little bit, I say a disappointing run back in November, but A, you ran into a good horse, and B, maybe went off a bit too quick.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with everything you said there. And the other thing as well is back in the autumn there, we won nicely first time, and we said we'd have a go at the listed race at Wetherby and ran well. And then we thought, we've done well in that. Let's have another go in deep end, and maybe we can steal this race from the front if everyone's sort of, not on their A game. And I think we kind of underestimated him before Christmas. I think we just were a little too happy to say that, okay, we might try and rob one of these good races rather than actually this is a real contender. And I think his last 2 runs at Warwick have proven that he's a very progressive horse, and he clearly enjoys his job. I don't know about the form of last week. I think the form of his run 3 weeks previous, I think that's very strong. And he showed a great attitude to stay in front. When it would have been under a penalty there, it would have been quite easy to capitulate. But he goes for the Boodles, and I think with him you can almost rely on him giving his run in, because he wouldn't want a black mark against his name. He's a very, very honest horse, tries very hard, and I feel positive about going there, to be honest.
Okay, Kevin Cliffs then in the Boodles. Simon, do you have a price for Dan's runner?
Oh, I don't actually. I thought you were going to ask me about Tritonic, but I'll find one now.
Tritonic. Well, tell us about Tritonic.
Tritonic's was well back. We cut him to 4-1 from 8-1 immediately after the race. I think there was bigger available, but it's interesting. All the money came. He's now 7-2, a clear second favourite to Zanna here in the Triumph, and will be the leading English contender with the Adagio as an 8-1 chance. And Cabot Cliffs in the Boodles.
It's live and interactive.
It's live and interactive. It's a 12-1 chance.
12-1.
12-1, yeah. Trimmed in from 16-1.
Okay, yeah. Cabot Cliffs and Tritonic, then a couple of juvenile chances that we're discussing there. Let's move on to 4 races that we're going to discuss then this evening. We've got the Supreme Novices Hurdle, we've got the Arkle, we've got the Mares Hurdle, and we've got the Ryanair, which we're going to get stuck into this evening. So if you do have any thoughts, feelings or opinions on those, please get in touch with us via the various social media channels. And we'll start off with the opening race of the festival, which will not be accompanied by a roar this year. It is, of course, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Let's have a look at the betting for the opener then. Appreciate It is 6-4 favourite. Métier is 6-1, 7-1 Bally Adam, 8-1 Soaring Glory, 10-1 Bob Ollinger, 12-1 The Devil's Coachman, 14-1 Third Time Lucky, 16-1 and bigger the rest there. We'll come to you in a second, Dan, to talk about Third Time Lucky's chances. But of course, we've got a pretty hot favourite to open the card here, Paul, in the shape of Appreciate It. Not a race you'd normally want to be getting involved with a hot favourite, it must be said, over the past few years. Runner-up in the bumper last year, which is a route that's been taken by Cinders and Ashes and Alpha Off, who both were second in that race and won this the next year. How do you rate Appreciate Its chances? Is he priced up accordingly?
I mean, he deserves to be favourite. I don't think we can argue with that. I do think he probably wants very soft ground. He looks like a real mudlark 2-miler to me. And we have this situation over the last few years where we got used to it being very soft ground. And years ago we used to watch racing throughout the winter on bottomless ground, and then we'd turn up at Cheltenham and it'd be a lot faster, and you might get a few funny results. Now, obviously, they're not going to let it be really fast on day one, but it was not. Judging by the forecast, it doesn't look like it's going to be proper winter ground either. Not like it has been for the last few years. That would put me off him. Métier himself has got a little bit of that problem too, because all his form, even on the flat, was on soft ground. I do like him, but looking, very interesting actually, because I half like Dan's horse wherever he goes, right? But what he wants is a fast pace. Yeah. And I'll be liking it if For Pleasure was in this race, doing what he did in the Betfair Hurdle at Newbury, and they don't ignore him like they did when Third Time Lucky was second to him at Cheltenham.
Because there's a danger in this race, especially with Appreciate It and the way he's been running over.
Well, I mean, the Mullins horses have on several occasions just got their
Fever,
own way. Champagne Fever, Classical Dream, yeah, exactly, have got their own way. And if we end up with that scenario again, letting them control the pace. But if you get a horse who's a natural tearaway, you can't hold him, a horse like For Pleasure, and is also good enough not to ignore. And we saw that at Cheltenham, that he was good enough not to ignore. So he has something that pushes him on. Then we get a long, strong run race that will very, very much suit Third Time Lucky and Soaring Glory if he goes. And I think you can write off Third Time Lucky's run at Musselburgh. That was just a case of slow run race, sharp 2 miles, no good at all. You got to remember he wasn't beaten very far in the bumper.
Dan, we'll come to you now then to talk about Third Time Lucky. Of course, he's in the Supreme. He's also in the County, a race which you appear to have cracked out to win more than anyone else in the industry. We'll come to that race in a second. But what are your thoughts now? Where is Third Time Lucky going? Do you know?
I just better start actually by saying I've actually not analysed that Triumph very well. Adagio, he's actually owned by an owner of ours as well, Brian Drew. So I'll be in big trouble for missing him out. I was actually really impressed. I was actually really impressed with how strongly he stays, and you need a good stayer for that Triumph. So I wouldn't actually. I'd like to take my comments back about being the only.
Have you just got a message down condemning your?
I actually. Do you know what? I actually haven't, because I'm doing this on my phone. But I'm sure I'm sure his son Harry will be watching. I'm a little bit torn between which race to go with Lucky, and like hearing things like what Keels has just said, it actually gives me a bit of confidence that that everyone else still believes in this horse, and he really is a beautiful animal and a horse that travels through his races so well, and it just everything that Paul said is 100% right, and I was probably an idiot for running him at Musselburgh, but I kind of thought he'd go up there at a short price and win his prep race, and isn't that great? And, I've got egg on my face really, but I think we're just going to leave this a little bit to the last minute with him, because, and I know that's not what people want to know when you're on a show called In the Know. But
Dan, they want to know where he's going, how far he's going to win by.
What time he's arriving.
I have to say, my head says County, because I know he's going to get a fast run race there. And I've always said to Mike Newbold, his owner, I've always said to Mike, what we really need is a fast run race with this horse where you can turn up with him. And I've never ever had that with him. And look, if we run him in the Supreme and it doesn't go according to plan, I wish you run him in the County. If you run him in the County, and you think you'd have been better off on the other track, I wish I'd run him in the Supreme. So I don't think it's as straightforward as at the moment. Anyway, I agree with everything Paul says about Appreciate It and Metier. I think they want cut in the ground. And so, to be honest with you, the more chat I hear about that, the more I'm going to be swinging towards the Supreme.
This might be a stupid question, Dan, but a winner in the County or a second in a Grade 1, are you? Is it all about the Cheltenham winners, or because of course a second in a Supreme is strictly a better performance?
It ain't winning.
I knew the answer to that.
Fair enough. I kind of knew the answer as well, but I just wanted to confirm. But yes,
it ain't winning.
Exactly. And of course, like I said, we'll get to the County Hurdle in a bit. But obviously, you've had 4 Cheltenham winners and 3 have come in that race, so you do have a knack of winning one of the toughest races of the week. Other runners here, Paul, Soaring Glory, who of course won the Betfair Hurdle just the other day, a race which has a pretty poor record with winners. And I've got a quiet eye. He also might go for the County as well, but on the Devil's Coachman, who looked very inexperienced when beaten by and Appreciate It. But I've been impressed with the way he's quickened up on his last 2 starts.
Yeah, he's looked pretty good, hasn't he? Again, we know, and I keep thinking, I just remember the sire at Elusive Pimpernel just didn't strike me with any confidence at all that he's going to carry on.
It didn't strike me a lot of confidence when he was running on the flat as a racehorse.
Exactly. So I keep looking at that and thinking, you know what I mean. But it is, it's definitely got a chance with Ballyadam. You can't rule out Ballyadam because he will appreciate faster ground as well. The one I would back, and a non-runner no bet. I don't expect him to run, but I think Bob Ollinger is the best novice hurdler out there. And if they were to change their mind, that 10-1 non-runner no bet would look mad because he would be second fav.
So you are non-runner.
Yeah, we are non-runner bet. So even like Third Time Lucky, 14-1 for the County, 14-1 for the Supremes. Effectively, you can back them for both and know you're safe. And same for obviously for Bob Ollinger, who probably would be start shorter than 10-1 if he ran the Supreme. So wouldn't put you off that if they do change their mind. But it's one the Supreme always has a really important stage of the Cheltenham Festival for bookmakers and punters. It's the first race of the meeting. A lot of bookmakers will be looking at that as the opportunity to do offers around it, try and drive people into the race. And when you've got a short price favourite, Willie Mullin trained like Appreciate It, it's going to be massively overbet. There's no question. You either stick with it or you look for that each way alternative. And you've rightly analysed the likes of Metier at 6-1, Ballyadam 7, Soaring Glory 8, Third Time Lucky 14s. You've got plenty of choices there if you want to avoid the favourite. But it doesn't look as if it's got huge depth in the race. Beyond that, there's sort of exciting outsiders lurking. We've only had 2 favourites win in 10 years, so it's a race that bookies lately, where it used to cost them whenever the favourite won the first three. It was an awful start to the meeting, but they've got away with it in the last few years. So it'll be interesting to see how the Mullins machine starts.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a social comment in here about the Supreme Novices Hurdle. This is from Joe Holden. He says if Bob Ollinger comes here, he'll go favourite and should win. I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, he's got the hurdling ability, he's got the cruising speed, but if, like I said, a lot depends on. Well, a lot depends on Bromhead's mood during the week, I guess, of what race you want to go for. But like you said, with number and no bet, you can take that chance.
Yeah. Well, he gets 2.5 mile well as well, doesn't he? So if it's not going to be really deep ground, then he probably goes 2.5, doesn't he?
Just a quick one before we move on, Dan. If Third Time Lucky does run, which horse in here are you most worried about?
It's completely ground dependent. If it was normal first day ground, I've got an awful lot of respect for Harry Fry's horse. I think he looks the real deal as a hurdler, and he's one of those grinders that can really see out 2 miles very, very well.
Okay, thanks ever so much, Dan. Let's move on to the Arkle then, the second race we're going to look at tonight, and of course, second race on the card as well. 155 on the first day. Shiskin 5-6. Energamine is 2-1. All Mankind 8-1. 16-1. Captain Guinness and Franco de Port and Sky Pirate 20-1. Blackbow and bigger prices the rest. Shiskin versus Energamine in many people's minds, Dan, but I can't imagine it's that way in your minds. All Mankind, fairly, I say a unique horse. He has one way of running and, my God, he does it pretty well.
He does, and we're delighted with him at home. He came out of Warwick really well, and he's just a great horse to have on the team. He loves to run. I'd love to run him more than we do, but you've almost got to protect him from himself a little, because he would just keep running for you. And I think that's his biggest asset, is he just loves to be out there. His jumping, I feel, is very good. I know that people were crabbing him after Warwick, and rightly so. If you just came down off the moon and watched him jump around Warwick in the Kingmaker, you'd say that's not good enough. But I can assure you, the ground that day was so tacky and holding. No horse could get in a rhythm that day. And what it did do is it showed me and Harry that he can get himself into some positions at fences, and he's the brain and the feet to get out of that trouble. He can make mistakes and get away with it, and that's a bit of a, I don't know what the right word is. It's a bit of an asset. A lot of the good chasers out there know how to survive mistakes. Kedif Star was a great example. He knew how to make a howler, but get away with it. And you can't go your whole career without making mistakes as a chaser. So I'm happy with that. I think drying ground suits him. He'll get lots of spring off the ground. Look, we're taking on 2 monsters, but I'm very happy with our horse. And I know he'll be slightly overlooked on the day. That doesn't concern me. It's a very unusually good Arkle. I think any of the top 3 in the betting in a normal year, it'd be at least even money, and you'd be talking about day one banker. So, what can I say? We're involved in a great race. I hope the race lives up to expectations, and I hope we win.
Well, of course, absolutely. No one's playing for second, as we've already established. The problem for All Mankind, Paul, of course, is that he has to not only get into rhythm out in front, see off Energamine, get up the hill, and then see off Shishkin. It's they all have to do that, of course.
You're extraordinarily unlucky to get a very good 2 miler and then have him just happen to be this year. I would have put him away for a year, Dan. He's only 5. To wait another year, next year he'll be odds on. But no, it is incredible. I mean, Shishkin's win at Kempton was the one that blew everyone away, because he'd gone similar splits to Altio and Nubi Negra in the Desert Orchid Chase, and then left them for dead 20 lengths in the straight. He's an extremely fast horse. He looks absolutely superb, and as Jermaine does as well. He would be odds on in a normal year. So All Mankind is one that I have got wrong for his entire life. I've underestimated this horse, and I feel really guilty about it, but I keep underestimating it. So I think Dan probably wants me to say, yeah, he can't possibly win again because he keeps having ones next to his name. I would say he did jump miles better the other times he's run over fences than last time. So I think
like you said, he's only 5 as well.
I think that's very valid. I think Energy Man might sit off him because I think he's naturally very fast and wants to get on with it, and I don't think they'll want to get into a battle. And I think one of them will have to bite the bullet, and I don't think Energy Man absolutely needs to go from the front, whereas I think All Mankind wants to. But I'm a Shishkin man. I think he's a bit of a monster.
Yeah, I think last year before the Supreme, I was a bit sort of, how good is Shishkin? And I've watched that race back several times, and I still can't quite work out how he did that much wrong and still powered up the hill to beat a very talented horse. And he seems to be even better over fences. So, and given the connections record with these types of horses, there could be even more to come on the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he has, I think he's got a top RPR of 170 already, which is good enough to win all bar the one Sprint and Sacre one, I think. So you're talking that level.
Now again, the way this race is being set up, there's going to be run obviously All Mankind and the Gamine. There's going to be plenty of pace on. We don't necessarily know how many runners are going to turn up here, but I just want to pick your brains about Franco de Port, who's already a Grade 1 winner for the Willie Mullins team. Off a very, very strong pace at Leopardstown. Chased home Energamine last time out, but again, the winner that day got his own way in front. If this is a pace collapse, you've got a genuine Grade 1 runner who, was a very talented hurdler as well, who I thought at 16, was he 16 to 1 Franco de Port?
Yeah, he's... my idea of the one, even though he fell last time, would be Captain Guinness instead, because I think Captain Guinness would have been second. Right. If he hadn't have fallen. And it's funny because he was brought down last year in the Supreme, and he was going well at the time as well. And he'd got hampered already and before getting brought down, and I think he's definitely got a big run in him. But I think they were just a bit special, the two at the top, and fairly special himself, All Mankind. So it's going to be hard. Absolutely. Again, this is it's a fascinating race from a betting perspective as well, because like I said, we don't know how many runners are going to turn up. We don't know how many are going to get scared of the top of the market, Simon. So has there been, because Energamine's kind of come from nowhere a little bit. People have been expecting Shishkin to be a warm favourite throughout the winter. Oh, Energamine's helped the race enormously. That performance in the Dublin Festival has made this a proper, leading Irish hope versus leading English hope. The two trainers who've dominated the race in the last 9 years has been 3 Henderson Arca winners, 4 Willie Mullins winners. Yeah. Shishkin's currently 5 to 6. I could see him drifting. I mean, it's interesting that Tom was talking last week about the fact that it was a big drift last year with Shishkin before the Supreme. Could it be that Energamine attracts a way to support and you could get better than 5 to 6 Shishkin? I think it'll be a small field. There's 19 entries now. And if you look through them, you can see some horses who aren't going to run. I suspect it could be, 8, 9 runners maybe. So there's even a chance it could be 2 places. So if you do fancy something at a bigger price, worth backing it each way now, because you might end up with a bit of value on the place side. There's been 6 odds-on winners in the last 9 years, 6 odds-on runners, and they've all won in the last 9 years. So it just shows you the way sort of the dominant horse has tended to come to the fore. But to Paul's point, I think this is probably a rarity where you've really got 2 big guns around the front end of the market, both with great form, very tightly rated on the rating. So brilliant race. The second race of the meeting, we've got a hot favourite in the Supreme, and then you've got this race. It's a great way to start the Cheltenham Festival in betting terms. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very top-heavy, very intriguing market. We've got a social comment in here. This one from Lewis Spencer says, Dan, are you more afraid of Shishkin or Energamine getting past All Mankind? That's a good question. Dan, who scares you the most?
I don't know. They're both pretty frightening. I was visually... Shishkin was absolutely incredible at Kempton. It took him a long, long time to win last year's Supreme, and that is his strongest bit of form by a long, long way. When you consider the second, the performance and everything else, I know Tamar Optimatan has done the form at Kempton a lot of good, but I don't know, the way that Energamine just keeps finding, never looks in danger, just picks up a gear, and he will be a lot closer to us he will be a lot closer to us, presuming that we're still leading turning in. I believe. I think an Ergamine will get, if we're to get past by both of them, and I'm not saying that we will, because I'm sticking with my horse, but if we're to get past by both of them, an Ergamine will get past us, I think, before Shishkin does.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, again, like you said, there seems to be only one way of running All Mankind. Best of luck, Dan, and hopefully you can shake them all off from the outset. Currently an 8-1 shot if you want to back All Mankind. Paul, you a Shishkin man?
Yeah, I'm a Shishkin man. I've been a fan since last year, since he won that maiden hurdle at Newbury, really. So I'll stick with him for now.
And the worst result in the book for you, Simon?
Definitely Shishkin. I mean, and I think he will become the day, just because the weight money probably will come from him. He'll be in all the multiples, but it's going to be a really good betting race. I mean, the Arkle that we've had Arkles where you've had really short price favourites like Sprinter Sacre. It's almost been a dead betting race. It's been a watching race. Whereas the shape of this race is terrific for betting. Absolutely.
Get your thoughts and feelings then in for the Arkle as we move on to our next race of the evening, and possibly one of Dan's best chances. We'll see whether she's going to run in this particular race, but the next race we're going to look at is the Mares Hurdle here, and as with pretty much half the races at the festival this year, we have a short price Willie Mullins favourite. Although, well, currently as the betting stands, we actually have a short price Henry de Bromhead favourite. This is the problem with having the monitor over there and the camera over there. Honeysuckle in at even money. Concertista is 11-10. Roxana 3-1. Dame de Compagnie 8-1 with Ellie May 8-1. 12-1 for Dana Blue. 14 to Black Tears and 16-1 Bar. I'm going to come to you first, Simon, because you thrown me a googly there. Of course, they've said they're going to go for the champion with Honeysuckle, but of course last year's winner, having to cover your back if she does go for this race.
Well, you do, because there have always been those moments in Cheltenham Festival history where suddenly there's been a great switcheroo at the last minute. So, and the fact it's non-runner bet means it doesn't really matter. So, and she would be. I mean, she'd certainly be even money at least if she did decide to run in this race. But no, I think she won't run. Concertista will, I'm sure. 11-10. Roxana will discuss with Dan, since she's a key runner. Won the race before. She'll be second favourite, but obviously has that stayers option. Great to see Dame de Compagnie, Coral Cup winner last year, and the runner-up, Black Tears, both likely to run here. And obviously Ellie May unlikely to run. So a decent race. Again, it's proved a good betting race over the years. Willie Mullins has won it 9 times in 12 years, but 6 of them were Vega, so it was the same horse. And he's got the favourite again here, so it's be interesting to see what Dan thinks about Roxana.
Yeah, Dan, Roxana then, she is pretty much the stable star over the past few years, isn't she? And she won this race a couple of years ago, albeit luckily. But on ratings, she's arguably taken a form to a new level this season.
Yeah, I think so. Like you say, I think she's the best she's ever been, and she's looked very authoritative against mares. She was very authoritative in the West Yorkshire Hurdle, beat a horse at Nichols's that's undefeated in 3 chases since and good level. If you look at it purely mathematically, you've got 2 horses in the stayers that she couldn't beat or didn't beat at Ascot in Time Hill and
Paisley Park.
Emma Lavelle's horse.
Yeah.
Whereas you're taking on a horse that you've never took on in Concertista. Now Concertista, I feel, rightly or wrongly, I feel she's got to step up to this level. We've been there, danced the dances, and we kind of know where we are. Now Concertista could improve and go past us, and if that's the case, then so be it. But I think Concertista has to do a little bit yet to prove that she's as good as a Benny de Dieu was coming into it. Or last year, as good as Honeysuckle was. So I just think, looking at it purely mathematically and on form, if we were to run in the stayers and we got beat by those 2 I mentioned, you would say to yourself, well, hang on, you got beat by them in December. What made you think you could beat them today? Which is why I want to be in the Mares Hurdle, really. The only sort of stumbler to that is if the ground was really good on the Tuesday, we'd have to go 3 miles.
Yeah, you are, what are we talking, 90% mares, but we'll see what goes on with the weather?
We're 100% mares.
Yeah.
Until the weather tells us we can't be. So we are fully committed to the mares until the weather tells us we can't be. Now, you guys as gamblers and as price experts, you can price that up as you see fit when you look at the weather forecasts. So you can make your own percentage calls on that. But I am committed to that mare's hurdle, hoping for some rain at some point for her.
I mean, the soft, they will water it to make sure it's good to soft at worst and faster.
Well, they want it on the soft side of good to soft, is what they say
yeah.
for the start of the meeting. So if it's going to be a dry week, the softest ground will be on Tuesday.
Paul, we'll come to you for this. Concertista obviously is a short price favourite again. Roxana, just before we came onto the show, you were saying Roxana, in your opinion, is a stayer.
To me, she is a stayer, but you have to bear in mind that yes, she's going to be a shorter price to win the mare's race than she is to win the stayers race. So you can understand it. I think she's a stayers. I think she'd have a fair each way chance in the stayers. If you ask me which races she got the best chance of winning, it will be this one, because she does.
To train us tonight,
she does arguably have the best form. And I'll tell you a funny story actually. I actually tipped her for the race 2 years ago. And I had been having a terrible day tipping and punting. It was a financial and professional disaster. And then she wins, Benedict fallen at the last. And I've gone into the bar for a drink afterwards. And the first person I bump into is Rich Ritchie. He says, "How's your day, Kills?" I went, "Oh, it's terrible, awful day, bad luck about that." Yeah, I couldn't admit to backing Roxana at all.
Well, I'm Rich, if you're watching tonight.
Oh, he knows now.
Send us a social comment. Let us know what you think.
It was surreal moment. But no, she's got a fantastic chance. She does have the best form. She looked fantastic at Ascot. I do think she probably is more of a 3 miler than a 2.5 miler. And Concertista was obviously very good around Cheltenham. Don't rule out, if she goes, especially if the ground is drier than normal, Verdana Blue. I think she shapes like a stayer now. And just because she's been out of form, I mean, she was second in an Ebo in the last summer. So, if she comes back to form, she's a big price.
And also, obviously, there is Dame de Compagnie, who this morning I've turned to calling the mare's Bouvier. Given her Henderson and McManus horse going from fences over hurdles for the festival. And she was, of course, as you said, a Coral Cup winner last year. Again, there are a few races this year that are top heavy, 2 or 3 really strong horses battling it out, and not too many you could see improving out of the.
It's the problem with the mare's race, because now obviously we've got more than one, because obviously Dame de Compagnie is in the chase as well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't her fault that she got brought down at Sandown. So, and we don't know where she's going to go. I think she's slightly shorter for that as well. So again, it's a wait and see.
What's your angle in right now?
My angle in right now is don't run a no bet. I'd probably have a little each way tickle on Verdana Blue.
Verdana Blue, very well. Who is
12 to 1.
12 to 1.
12 to 1.
And Dan, would you say Roxana's your best chance of a winner this in the week?
I think if the ground comes in her favour, I really do. Yeah, I do. I think in a lot of other races, we're right there in the betting, but we've got a little bit to find on numbers. I think in this race, they've got to step up to Roxana's level.
Absolutely. Roxana then. A 3 to 1 shot then here for the mare's hurdle. That's the third race on tonight's card then. Good luck with whatever you've invested in for that one. The final one we're going to look at is skipping all the way to Thursday and the Ryan Air Chase. Let's have a look at the betting then for this Grade 1. The Allaho is 4 to 1. We've still got Chac and Passoir in there again. Plenty of potential spanners in the works regarding those types of horses. 4 to 1, 8 to 1 Imperial, 6 to 1 Imperial Order, 6 to 1 Min, 7 to 1 Kemboy, 8 to 1 Altior, Fakir Dudari, 8 to 1 and bigger prices the rest. Now the Ryanair gets a bit of a bad rap, I think, in terms of over the past few years in terms of Grade 1s. Is this a real Grade 1? Why don't you go for the Gold Cup, and why don't you go for the Champion Chase if you've got a 2-miler? But looking at speed figures, I was looking at the winners over the past 5-6 years, only sort of 1 point off a Gold Cup winner. So we've had some really good battles over the past few years.
There's history with 2 miles and 3 miles, isn't there, at Cheltenham, and the Ryanair distance doesn't have it, and it also drags horses possibly out of the Gold Cup and out of the Champion Chase that people think may actually enhance those races or should be in those races. So, I mean...
So you're saying scrap it? Is that
what
you're saying?
No, I liked it originally. I mean, I do like a good 2.5 mile chase at Cheltenham. I must admit, this one is going to boil down to being very, very competitive. What I can't understand, what I've never understood, is the amount of entries certain trainers give to horses. I mean, what on earth is the point of entering Chacun Pour Soi in the Ryanair? Now, you can imagine you got Min and Chacun Pour Soi. If Chacun Pour Soi, let's say it was a year ago, if Chacun Pour Soi got injured well in advance, you could run Min in the champion chase.
Yeah.
Right? But if Min get injured tomorrow, you're not running Chacun Pour Soi in the Ryanair, are you? You're just not doing it.
There's a lot that has to change and go wrong.
What is the point of that? I don't understand it whatsoever. So, very strange.
What is it not a potentially, if the weather was that bad and the champion chase got called off and
absolutely
they ran the
no
Ryanair?
chance whatsoever. I mean,
Well, in the old days, you might unseat him on the first day, you could declare and stuff. You can't do that. Now you can only run in one race.
Got a better chance of running in the Martin Pipe, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. Well, so very strange.
I understand you're disgruntled about that fall, but what wins the race?
Yeah, and he's got the favourite anyway, Willie Mullins, and the third favourite, the fourth favourite. But no, I think Allaho's a terrible price on what he's achieved, and I think there are a few in there that have achieved a little bit more. Min obviously has the best form, but he's 10, and his very, very best run was at Aintree a couple of years ago now, and it's a while since he's actually got near that, and it's a while, and his runs since he won last year, they're not as good as either. So it suggests to me he's a little bit on the decline. I like, and quite a lot of the price, I like Mr. Fisher. A double figure price. I do not understand. The horse that's going to come in here off an absolute massive career best, over course and distance in the Peterborough Chase, where he beat Kalashnikov, who did not get beat far in the Denman Chase at Newbury the other day. And obviously he was giving £3 to Kalashnikov as well. I think that is a fantastic run. It's as good a run this year as anything else in the race, and he's a double figure price. He was behind a couple of these Mellon and Samcro in the Marsh last year, but he's 2 years younger than those two. He's only had 6 runs over fences. I still can't believe he's a double figure price. I think he's a massive, massive player.
Yeah, Mr. Fisher. In fact, yeah, he's not even in the betting on the single price
He's
on the screen.
I thought, that Marsh last year was a really, really deep race. It was a great finish. Sam Crow, Faheen, Mellon, and Mr. Fisher. And you've got 3 of those 4 coming back again. It's the same trip, isn't it? It's the same. It's a course of distance, isn't it? So I think it'll be interesting to see how they all go. All of them. Sam Crow responded to the better ground, didn't he, last year? I'm not saying he will necessarily this year. He's a 14-1 chance, but no, I thought Mr. Fisher of those horses have run the best coming into this race. I thought he's a great each way price at 12-1.
Well, yeah, like you said, he's down. This is, like I said, a wide open race here. Fakir Doudari, could potentially be spending half his career over the wrong trip. He's a 2.5 mile Grade 1 winner. You've got Mellon, you've got St Calvados, you've got Dashel Drasher, of course, who won at Ascot and beat Benny's King the other day. Dan, I know you don't have an interest in this race personally, but it's completely wide open. So now you get to play pundit and punter. Who wins the Ryanair?
I like Paul's angle with Mr. Fisher. I think the drying ground will really, really suit him, and I would definitely be in favour of him. I think the ones right at the top of the market, you can pick a few little holes in them. If it was to rain, I think it just feels like St Calvados has been waiting to win one of these. How close he got to winning it last year. Well, wind the clock forward 12 months. He's a bit older, a bit stronger, and the winner of the race that day, it's not really gone. His build-up's not really gone according to plan. So, if you don't think this race's renewal is as good as last year's, I can see you taking a little bit of trust in St Calvados.
Yeah, St Calvados, Simon?
St Calvados is a 10-1 chance.
10-1 shot. Yeah, again, this is a completely wide open race then. So St Calvados then the pick for Dan again. Just to defend Allaho a little bit, I can kind of see why you say he's a short price, but I get the feeling this horse has always been a year behind the races he's been running in. He was in the Albert Bartlett, and then last year in the
RSA.
What was the RSA. He's a 5-year-old of a 3-mile novice. He's a 6-year-old in a 3-mile novice chase. As a 7-year-old, his potential that he's coming into this.
Look, he was a horse at the start of this season that I really wanted to follow, and I was of the opinion that he might not be the 2.5 mile that everybody else says he was. He was just waiting to fill out physically and become the stayer that Willie Mullins just thought he was for running him in an Albert Bartlett and an RSA. So I'm still not 100% certain that he jumps quick enough for 2.5 miles, especially if the ground dries out. I think he can get in close. And I am not 100% certain that he's an out-and-out 2.5 miler. And if there's a big field, and he tries to lead them, I think he might do too much too soon, and he'll make too many mistakes.
What about Imperial Aura?
Yeah,
Is the horse you tipped on last year?
Well, I love him. I love Imperial Aura, and
it.
he's got a chance, but he's priced up based on promise, and he unseated, which means he won't have had a run since November. Basically.
6 to 1's a bit short.
6 to 1 is just short.
Yeah,
sure, he can win it.
Yeah. He's up against genuine Grade 1 performers.
And he'll charge up the hill. Don't get me wrong, he might be a Grade 1 performer, but he hasn't really proved it, and he's short enough for what he's done.
Okay, then let's see the Ryanair. Then just another thing to dive as well. Mim, you were talking about his age, last 15 years, 4 Grade 1 winners at the festival, aged 10 or older. Our Alberta's run, Sprinter Sacre and Special Tiara. So not many, but at least 2 of them were in this race. And Min, of course.
Yeah, it can be done. I mean, end of the day, you probably need to be pretty special, or the race needs to be pretty weak.
Yeah.
One of the two. It might not be the best Ryanair chase, but it will be a very competitive one.
So you're with Mr. Fisher?
I'm with Mr. Fisher, yeah.
And Dan, who wins the Ryanair again? Just remind us from your perspective.
I think with rain, St Calvados.
St Calvados it is. And a price boost, Mr. Clare.
Couple of price boosts. Bring them in at the last. Appreciate it. 6 to 4 chance currently. We're going to go 15 to 8. Could have nicked it to 2 to 1, but anyway, 15 to 8. So I don't know, God, 1/8 of a victory. Anyway, 15 to 8. Still a big price.
Don't blame us, Simon. That's kind of your job.
I know. Well, anyway, it's 15 to 8 versus 6 to 4. So just exactly right. Appreciate it. We'll hold that for hopefully a good fair time. A fun special price boost on All Mankind, Roxana and Chandler, all to place in the first 3, 6 to 1. It's a current special at 5 to 1, so we just nicked that out to 6 to 1. Given Dan's on. I know he wants winners, but if all 3 of those finish in the first 3, that will be good performances. And I'd just like to just talk about Annie Mac briefly, if that's all right. Annie Mac's obviously running in the Mayor's Chase on the Friday. Obviously, owners can't be there. It's a bit of a frustration. And we're going to run a competition for 10 Coral customers to virtually own Annie Mac on the day. So if you win the prize, if you win the promotion, you'll win 5% of the share of all the prize money. We'll get an exclusive chat to John Joe Jr., John Joe O'Neill Sr. and Chris Hughes. Chris Hughes, obviously, Love Island man. He's the number 1 cheerleader for Annie Mac. £100 worth of free bets, a 12-month subscription to the Racing Post Members Club Ultimate Package, Paul. And some Annie Mac merchandise. And basically, from today right the way through to Sunday the 14th, if you have a £5 anti-post bet on Cheltenham, for every time you place it, have a £5 bet, you'll have an entry into the draw. We'll do the draw at 9 o'clock in the morning on Monday the 15th of March, and 10 Coral customers will get to own Annie Mac virtually at the Cheltenham Festival.
Fantastic stuff. Well, look at that competition then. And just going back to those price boosts, of course, the last horse that Simon did mention, Dan, is Shamblu, and will lead the charge into the rest of your runners at Cheltenham with Shamblu. Of course, goes for the Marsh Novices Chase. He's gone from strength to strength over fences. First things first, definitely the Marsh. Obviously definitely the Marsh, not the Brown Advisory, but why the selection of that race?
I think he's a fast jumping, attacking horse, and I think that the Marsh really suits him. That I think the track will be fine for him. We only went there once as a novice hurdler with him, but I haven't kept him away from there as a chaser. It's just the way that seasons progressed. I feel he's now big enough, strong enough, and he's proven he's able enough to turn up in a race like this and be a real contender. I think he looks fantastic at home. I can't wait to run him, to be honest with you. I think the track is perfect for him, and we're really excited about running him, to be honest with you. I think as the days go, I grow more and more in confidence about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Shamblu then for the Marsh Novices Chase. And yeah, last year, Dan, you had 1 horse return a single figure SP for the whole festival. This year, you've got 4 currently single figure. So you've got a fantastic lineup, and Shamblu is one of those horses. Let's see what some of the viewers have to ask you here. Social comment in from Nathan Cockrell, who says, ask Dan if Spirit of the Games wins the Pertemps final. Spirit of the Games, a horse who surely has contributed to more incredible finishes over the past few years than any other horse in your stable. Does he go for the Pertemps?
He does, yes, and I just love him to win, to be honest with you. He's been so close. He's been the bridesmaid so many times, not really through any fault of his own. I can't say that he hasn't put in an honest run and tried his best. It's just the way the chips have fallen for him, and he'll go there. I just feel like he's a horse that's been over fences a long time, and in the chase there's a lot going on around every horse, and I think just to drop back the hurdles the other day just sparked plenty of enthusiasm into him at Chepstow, and I'm really looking forward to running him in the Pretemps. And you feel with a horse like him that you can go there with knowing that he's going to cope with the day, and if he can be within a sniff, jumping 2 out, you've got a chance.
Yeah, he's the old cliche place pot banker, isn't he? Definitely for Spirit of the Games, and hopefully he can get his head in front for a big race. Another social comment coming in then here. We've got Chris. He says, can you ask Dan who his county hurdle horse is this year? Everyone knows he targets the race every year and has won 2 of the last 3 renewals. You've got 3 entries, Dan Prashima, Kadzand and third time Lucky. Tell us about those 3. Who goes, who doesn't?
At the moment, like we've discussed, third time Lucky, it's 50-50 where he goes there or the Supreme. Kadzand, I've left him in. I was disappointed, obviously, with the run at Newbury, but I don't really know why he ran like that. It's just a bit of a lacklustre day, I think. I won't judge him by it, that's for certain. If Prashima was to win this weekend and get a penalty and get in, I think he'd be very interesting.
Okay, so again, we don't run a no bet. You can take your chances with those horses, but Chris asking for one of those county hurdle horses, but you do have 3 chances here. One more social comment coming in, Dan, is from Mark Smith. He says, can you ask Dan, will Amula Gold go for the Grand Annual, and does this horse need to be produced late? Yeah, Amula Gold again has been progressing through the ranks, and when winning this season has been produced very late indeed, Dan. Will this horse turn up for the Grand Annual?
Yeah, he will. He'll go there, and my intention is to run not that Fuse in the race as well, and possibly Maracuja if he gets in. But Mamula Gold, you're absolutely right, has to be produced late. I think a Grand Annual will suit him. He's a strong staying 2-miler, but you cannot get there too soon, like you've pointed out. But he's just got, I don't know if it's his age, his strength, whatever, it's all come together for him this year, and he just looks like a bigger, stronger, better horse. And yeah, if they go fast, which they normally do, it'll suit him.
Yeah, I think that goes for a lot of your runners, Dan. It's been 8 years since you've taken out a licence, and this year everything has kind of struck gold. Mentioned a couple of others quickly. Nube Negra and Al Nadam both have excellent chances of winning the Champion Chase and the Ultima respectively.
Yeah, I think Al Nadam is very ground dependent. If we've got plenty of rain, I'd be quite keen on him stepping up to 3 Mile Plus for the first time. He looks like a thorough stayer. I like the way he races for the trip as well. He relaxes. He's not doing too much. As a novice, you'd hope that he's not as exposed as some others. And then Nuba Negra, preparation, touchwood's gone really well. He looks fantastic, and we beat Altior at 2 miles, which is a very strong piece of form. Obviously, Shaken coming over is going to be very difficult to beat, but yeah, he hasn't been around the track yet and proven what he can do around Cheltenham. So there's a little bit of an unknown there. I wouldn't swap my horse for anything. I just love the way he jumps and travels, and I don't nothing other than the fact that Shaken's got all them Grade 1 wins next to his name. I'm not particularly frightened by the proposition of it. I think we've got a horse that can cope with what the race is going to bring. Yeah, if you run really well and get beat by a horse like Shaken, then fine. You know what I mean? That's what we're competing in. We're going for the biggest day. But going in there, I don't sort of think, well, yeah, he won't travel well enough, or he won't jump well enough, or that's going to be a problem, or that's going to be a problem. I go there thinking this horse does have all the ingredients to go very well in this race.
Okay, Dan, yeah, all the ingredients to go very well in this race is something you could say about 4, 5, maybe 6 of your runners at the festival. Thanks for joining us, Dan. Best of luck, and hopefully you can get a couple of winners on the board.
Thank you.
Thanks to Dan Skelton for joining us then on In the Know tonight. Thank you for Paul Kealy as well. Of all the horses we've mentioned tonight, your best bet?
I'm actually a massive fan of Chamblou, and I've been backing him for a while for the March, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him go there.
Thank you very much for that, Paul, Shamblou, Father Marsh, and Simon. Thanks ever so much for joining us. And we've got another Racing Post and Coral exclusive as well, live right now on the Racing Post YouTube channel. We've got some wonderful videos entitled My Festival with some of the Coral ambassadors, and tonight's exclusive, currently going out on the channel, is with the Tizzards. The Tizzards,
yeah, and this is a beautiful. I've been lucky enough to have a preview, and it's a beautiful documentary looking back at their Cheltenham memories, a bit of nostalgia, and looking forward to the meeting in 2 weeks' time. So well worth a watch.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for joining us, everyone at home. Check out the My Festival videos on the Racing Post YouTube channel. My name is Ross Brierley. I'll see you next week for more of the same.